Now, on average, 2,000 new cases of acute myeloid leukemia are diagnosed each year in the UK. A common treatment for this disease is a bone marrow transplant. However, for the African Caribbean community, finding compatible donors is extremely hard. In 1993, only 550 black people were registered donors. Now, thanks to the efforts of the African Caribbean Leukemia Trust, that figure has jumped to 60,000 people, saving the lives of over 60 people. On the 14th of March, ACLT are holding a donor drive in London to try and encourage more people to become donors and save lives. I'm pleased now to say that Maddie, Gatabaki and Beverley, De-Gale of ACLT join us in the studio to discuss the drive. Good morning to you both. First of all, I did want to start by getting you to explain to me why people with Afro-Caribbean roots need different bone marrow than other ethnicities.
Well, bone marrow matching is race specific. We all inherit our bone marrow types from our parents. And so if you are black and you need a bone marrow transplant, the likelihood is that that match will come from within the black community.
Right.
And that obviously crosses over to if you're Asian, white Northern European, Jewish.
So it's not the case that with some diseases where there is a higher incidence of a particular disease in an ethnic group, that's not the case?
No, not at all.
It's that you've got fewer Afro-Caribbean donors on the register?
Correct.
Right, so I'm going to ask now, Maddie, you've created a film to highlight the problem of the young black men face in finding suitable donors, and I understand that you were actually inspired by a friend of yours.
Yeah, my friend Kevin was actually diagnosed with leukemia, and he found it very difficult. I mean, the charity supported him and his family with finding a matching donor, but despite their best efforts, I couldn't find one, and he asked me to make the film to raise awareness.
Yeah, we're looking at pictures now or we've just seen pictures of Kevin. Beverley, can you explain to me or outline for us the symptoms? What does myeloid leukemia, acute myeloid leukemia do? What are the symptoms?
Well, there are different types of leukemia, and acute myeloid, AML as its shorter name, is just one of them. And leukemia is a cancer of the white blood cells. The body starts to produce immature cells which are unable to fight infection or any kind of illnesses, and if it's not treated, it will eventually kill you. And so for most people that have these conditions, they will receive chemotherapy or radiotherapy treatments, but in Kevin's case, and also in the case of my son, that wasn't enough. And that's when you need to have a matching donor for bone marrow matching to save their lives.
And what happened to your son?
My son was the reason why the ACLT was started, and he was diagnosed with leukemia. We searched for 6 years to find him a match, and eventually he did get one. We actually found a match in the United States for him when he was 12, but because it took 6 years, all of the treatments that he had received unfortunately took their toll on his body, and he passed away.
Oh, that's just terrible. That's so sad. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Because I understand that chemotherapy, for example, weakens your heart. So when you have a lot of chemotherapy,
yes, that's right,
there are terrible side effects because it's quite a toxic sort of treatment, isn't it?
And this is why we need more people from all ethnic minorities, but in this case we're talking about black and mixed race, to join the register so that when a patient is diagnosed as needing a bone marrow transplant, they can check the world registers and a match can be found straight away.
This donor drive, thankfully, has quite a few high-profile backers, doesn't it? Who are they?
Well, we've been very fortunate over the years to engage with quite a few celebrities. One of our patrons is the Duchess of York, and thankfully she, along with many other high-profile people, have been tweeting and are supporting the initiative. We're also engaging with younger high-profile celebrities, the likes of George Poet, who's now one of our ambassadors, and Purcell Ascot from Mandem on the Wall, they're coming down on the day to support the event, but also to encourage the younger people to come along and sign up as donors.
And of course, things like Maddie's film,
Yes.
that's incredibly helpful because it illustrates the situation, it humanises the disease. You can actually really understand a lot more about it when you can see someone who's suffering from it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's what I wanted to show in the last scene with the character asking for a match, show the effect it had on him. Because I know with Kevin, his appearance changed drastically. He lost his hair, he was very thin, and there was a time where he actually turned to me and he said, I'm in pain. So that's the reason why I made this film, is to raise awareness so that no one else has to go through the same pain. And he had two wishes, which was to inspire 2,400 people to register, and also to raise money for the ACOT so they can continue their good work as well. Yeah, and I hope this film will compel people to really sign up and also join us on Saturday for the donor drive.
We're just looking at the film now. Is acute myeloid leukemia more of a male issue?
No, not at all. No. Any one of the illnesses can affect male or females. In Kevin's case, he just so happens to have AML, which sadly he wasn't able to beat. His was a particularly aggressive strain. And although we could not find him a match, the doctors eventually resulted in giving him a 50% match from his brother.
Yeah.
But it's a very experimental way of trying to save someone's life, and unfortunately it resulted in his loss.
And when did he die? Was it fairly recently?
He passed away in May of last year.
Yeah, and how old was he? He was
24, which is why he wants 2,400 people to join the register. That's 100 people for every year of his life.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And once people are having the bone marrow transplant, presumably now that is a fairly recognised technique.
Yes.
Once you've got a match, your chances are quite good.
Yes, oh absolutely. If you are fortunate enough to have someone who has the same bone marrow type as you on the bone marrow register, your chances of survival are drastically increased.
Yeah. And just tell us a little bit about what you're expecting on Saturday. What are you hoping will happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that there'll be a high number of people who will, who would have been, touched by the film or read about Kevin's story, and would want to come and save lives. And it's about, the question is, what kind of world do you want to live in? Like, do you want to live in a world where, if you are diagnosed with leukemia, the chances of you surviving are high, or do you want to live in a world where, if you are diagnosed with leukemia, you're given like a immediate, death sentence almost? So.
Yeah. And so tell us, just tell the viewers, just very quickly, where in London is it going to be?
So it's Saturday, which is the 14th of March, which just so happens to be Daniel's 28th birthday. It's at Global Radio in Leicester Square. We start at 12, we finish at 6, and all we're asking people to do is to fill in a short application, give a cheek swab, that's it.
Excellent. Well, Beverley, De-Gale and Maddie Gatabaki, thank you so much for joining me here this morning. Very, very worthwhile. So turn out there on Saturday. You're watching This Day Live in Arise. Do stay with us.